Never start vast projects with half-assed ideas. Anonymous poster. 25. Fred sat down at his computer for the first time in a long time. It felt good to finally feel like he had something to say, and he was bursting with it. He started with, "Blessed art thou, O Lord our God, creator of the universe, who saw fit to fill the world with beautiful women. Sol Schulman on meeting Charlene." What would you say if someone told you that they were going to reveal to you the meaning and purpose of life? Said the old man, sitting across the restaurant table from me. Why me? I answered. Why not? He replied. The keys clicked maniacally as the screen filled with words, sentences, and paragraphs. Chapters formed from paragraphs. The counter on the right lower corner of his screen gathered digits. Fred typed on. Somehow, the dam had broken, and the thoughts tumbled out in a torrent. He dealt with the abandoned feeling and crazy time from his divorce. He talked about the shrine building period after the feeling of abandonment. He described the shrine destroying period after the rediscovery of other women. He talked about Sol's divorce and the similar epics that Sol went through. He went over the culinary disasters that bachelorhood is heir to and his miraculous rescue from the jaws of death by the two mismatched women. Each chapter began with a quotation, some obscure, some common, and some totally imaginary. He dug a lot of them out of his compost heap. It was sunrise when he realized that he hadn't divided his piece of work. The line along the bottom of the screen said, Doc 1 page 447 LN 7.21 POS 8.0. He couldn't move it to another machine or even print it easily. Not only that, but he hadn't set up a format to number pages, so if he printed it, it would have to be kept in order and would be very hard to print. He wished he had thought ahead when he started to type. He rummaged around and found the manual for his word processing program. He walked over to his couch and sat down to read about formatting documents after the fact. That was where Marjorie found him the next afternoon, sound asleep. Fred, you didn't answer the phone, so we got worried. I thought you had poisoned yourself again. I finished the book, but I can't turn off the computer until I divide it up into chapters, because the document is too big to open once it's closed. What day is it? Tuesday, I think, but I don't think I could swear to it in court. You too. Well, then I guess you couldn't tell me the date then. Look, Fred, things have been strange for me lately. I've not been myself. How so? You wouldn't understand. It's a woman thing. Try me. Look, I'll tell you what. I'll go get a newspaper and we will both know what day it is. I need to go to Nashville soon or maybe Atlanta. I haven't decided which place yet. You look like you could use some fresh air and exercise, and I really would enjoy some company while I walk to the bus station. I can't leave this file like this. Heaven forbid we have a power failure. I would lose it all. You typed it all as one document, didn't you? Uh-huh. That's 5.1, isn't it? I think so. Let's see the book. Yeah, 5.1. Okay. What? Piece of cake. What? Look. Shift. F8. See? Now you select page numbers here like this. Where did you leave off on the last chapter you sent? I'll have to look. Let's see. Page 127. Okay, so start at 128. Where do you have the page numbers? Bottom center. Okay, done. Okay, so you numbered my pages, so what? Did you number your chapters? I think so. Yeah, you did do that right. Hey, I'm not that stupid. Can you scroll through your document with a mouse? I never tried it. You have a computer with a mouse, and you never tried to move in a document with it? Never knew that I could. Let me try. Shit. Well, we'll have to do this the hard way. You never enabled the mouse into the word processor. You mean I can do that? Well, not now. What do you mean? I would have to close the document and go into setup, and the document is too big to turn over in one piece. It exceeds the modulus of your machine by at least 10 times. It is a group of temp files, the size of whatever RAM you have. What's RAM? You went to a store and bought this thing, didn't you? Yeah, why? What's RAM? Did you talk to anyone about it first, or even while you were buying it? I asked the salesman for an idiot-proof word processing program. I assure you, WordPerfect is simple to use, but it's far from idiot-proof. The computer has Windows. What version? Ah, I thought so. What will I do? I can't leave you like this, though I'm obligated to rescue you once more, I guess. How? I am going to cram a 2-day computer course into a couple of hours. Can you handle it? I guess so. Okay, here goes. Look here. Push the Alt key with F4. Now, push the down arrow key and hold it until a chapter number comes up. Like this. Okay, see. Now, we name the block. Chapter 1. No, no. This way, C, H1 dot DOC. Now, save block. Like this. Now we have to do that to all the other chapters. Can you handle that? Show me that again. Okay, like this. Name it, select save. Oh, like this? Name it, select save. You got it. I owe you big time. What are friends for? I never had friends like that before. You probably did and never noticed. 26. Doug came home to find the same pile of laundry in the doorway that was there 4 days ago when he left for the yard. Because of Chet's extended absence from the schedule, he suddenly found himself working more hours. LNN liked the team approach in the assigning of train crews. Conductors without engineers substituted on other crews that were missing conductors. Conductors were not as well paid as engineers, and absenteeism was rampant in that position. After all, a conductor's main function was to keep the engineer awake and to help read the instruments monitoring the train. If the radio beacon on the last car failed, the conductor needed to investigate. Other than that, the conductor was a paid passenger in a noisy place with little to do. After the accident that took the life of Mrs. Slackmeyer and the sailor, Doug finished the run. Chet couldn't function. He hadn't seen Chet since that day. The overtime from being a substitute made life much better. He paid off some nagging bills. The downside of the overtime was no time at home. When he was home, he slept. He lived in locomotive cabs. He slept there too. Nobody seemed to notice or care. The engineers slept too, and Doug ran the trains. That was the unofficial practice anyway. The title of conductor was used to deal with the featherbedding issue of the 50s and 60s that had the unions and the railroads at loggerheads at every contract. During that time, the crew was made up of an engineer, a fireman, a conductor, and a couple of brakemen. The brakemen and the conductor slept in the caboose, while the engineer and fireman operated the train. The brakeman's function was to move switches in the track and check the brakes at stops. He also hooked and unhooked cars. The conductor kept up the paperwork. He had the bills of lading for the individual cars and the delivery list of destinations. The fireman sat in the cab and watched the engineer. With the advent of diesels, there was no fire to stoke and no water level to watch. If something happened to the engineer, the fireman took over until the next yard, or to the end of the run, if no substitute could be found. With the advent of automatic yards and tapered bearings and telemetry, the brakeman and conductor became obsolete. The yard crew hooked up the brake hoses, and a radio beacon replaced the caboose. Doug had a tough run. They had dealt with a minor derailment and 2 coupler failures, and the barcodes on 4 cars had gotten defaced and were unreadable. Because of the derailment, the cars were out of order too. They were 4 hours late to the last yard in Biloxi, where they turned back north. That meant that the whole railroad was out of sync, and they had to sit on sidings a lot heading north. This would have been all well and good in the old days, when trains were pulled by single locomotives and were relatively short, but sidings built in the 1880s cannot possibly hold a modern freight train. When some rocket scientist in management decided that the railroad only needed 1 set of rails on the main line, it made any break in the schedule a catastrophic event. Trains had to be divided and reassembled on multiple sidings in order to pass each other, causing massive delays in both directions and causing stress on every train crew on the railroad. With no brakemen, it was up to the conductor to unhook and recouple the cars when the trains had to pass each other. On their second meeting with another train, they lost an airline, disabling the brakes on the last 50 cars. The car normally would have been left on the nearest siding, but it was a high priority shipment for the Saturn plant in Spring Hill. GM was already threatening to use more trucks if the L&N couldn't meet the just-in-time delivery deadline. The car had to stay in its place. It took over an hour to disable the automatic brakes on 50 rail cars. Doug was exhausted when he finished. He was in a foul mood on the drive home. There were 4 days of dishes in the kitchen sink. The baby was filthy and was eating dog food off the floor. The floor had not seen a broom or a mop in weeks. Martha Stewart was on TV talking about ironing ruffles the right way. His wife was on the couch, eating frosted flakes out of the box. The ruins of $100 worth of snack food piled high on the coffee table. Julie Hepzibah Martin, are you aware of the fact that we have never had nor ever will have a maid? I'm not sure, but I think that even the pigs have moved out to find a better place to live. What in the hell are you trying to do? Grow prize cockroaches for the fair. With that, he grabbed the back of the sofa and dumped Julie Hepzibah Martin onto the floor. He pulled the television cord out of the wall and cut off the plug with his pocket knife. Get off your lazy ass and fix me some dinner, or have you forgotten how to open a can? What's your problem? You, for starters. If you haven't noticed, Abraham Lincoln freed all your niggers. General Sherman burned the plantation. Cotton is not the cash crop that it was. Your granddaddy drank and gambled away what was left of the family fortune. Hera is gone. The old way is dead. The life of leisure that you seem to expect will never return. You married a railroad man, for God's sake. You didn't marry a railroad tycoon, but a common laborer on the railroad. We work for a living. I work for the L&N, and you keep up the house and take care of the kids. How old is that diaper? Julie picked up a saucer and threw it at Doug. It shattered on the doorframe. A Dr. Pepper bottle followed it. What gave you the right to come into my house and boss me around? I have been making the payments on the house and supporting your carcass for 10 years. That's what? Another saucer and a cup whistled past Doug's head and smashed on the wall behind him. Get away from me, you animal. You break any more dishes, we'll both be eating out of boxes and cans. I don't give a damn. I noticed. The baby pulled on Doug's pant leg and looked up at him. Doug reached down and picked him up. He instantly lost his angry mood. The baby looked like he had been raised in the dump of a third world capital. Doug took him over to the kitchen sink, had second thoughts about that place for a bath, and went into the bathroom. The bathroom was in the same condition as the kitchen, except there were no dishes. There were no towels either. The baby cooed and giggled during his bath. Doug was glad that the baby was enjoying the bath because it was going to take a while to get clean. Finding a clean place to put a clean baby was impossible. Doug picked up a broom with his free hand and threw it into the living room. If this place ain't clean tonight, I'm taking the baby and leaving. Yeah, right. I'm serious. If the child welfare people came now, we'd both end up in jail and our son would end up in a foster home. Is that what you want? You can't go anywhere. Who would take care of the baby? I don't see anyone taking care of him now. He was eating dog food, for Christ's sake. The broom rattled back into the kitchen, followed by an empty onion dip can. I'm not your slave. No, you're not. You're my wife. You are supposed to be my helpmate. You are not the queen. This is America. We have no queen. I don't have to clean if I don't want to. If you want to have a husband and an income, you had better start wanting to clean and cook, and while you are at it, wash and shop. I do shop. Yeah, that's where all the junk food came from. You shopped all right. You went to the Jiffy Mart and the gas station. I'll do it when I damned well feel like it. You had better start feeling like it tonight, because I am taking the baby and going out to find something to eat that has been fresh food in recent memory. When I come back, this place had better have a start toward clean, or I will keep on going. He deserves better. He needs at least one full-time parent. If you don't do it, I guess I'll have to. War is hell.